An age-old question among Brandon Sanderson fans is which of his two most prominent standalone novels is the better of the two? Is Elantris better than Warbreaker, or is it the other way around? Is this a redundant question and one that's completely up to personal tastes? Yes, but damn it, I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in anyway. So considering it's all up to personal tastes, and I'm not in the mood to beat around the bush until the end, I'll come right out and say it off the bat. Warbreaker is the better book. Now, before you bombard the comments with hate letters the length of the Way of Kings, let me explain my stance. And if you haven't yet seen it, I've done more in-depth videos on both Warbreaker and Elantris in the past, where I delve into more specifics around the characters and the story structure. I recommend you check it out to get a more fleshed out idea of why I like Warbreaker more. Now, the major downfall of Elantris, for me at least, is the lack of character growth for 2 of the 3 viewpoint characters. That's right, at least 66% of the book is spent with characters who do not grow or change throughout the whole book. Now, I'm not saying these characters aren't relatable, and great characters in their own right. I'm just saying that for a reader to better empathize with and care for a character, we need to see them undergo challenges and change. Think of all the greatest characters from books and media. All of them are as good and loved as they are because they underwent some kind of change. The reader or viewer experienced the change with the character and saw them grow as a person, resulting in a better defined character that you can care about more. And unfortunately, Raoden and Serene don't do any of this. They're both the same person at the end of the book as they were at the beginning. Hrathen does change though, and steals the show because of it. I did a full video of that before and I recommend it for a deeper explanation. And while limited character growth is Elantris' biggest problem, it's not the only one. Another issue, though not as much of a problem as the previous one, is that the scope of the world building feels very limited. Remember, this is a fantasy novel, and a large part of fantasy and its appeal is the new world and magic it brings to the reader. It should entice the reader to want to experience the world and become immersed in the setting. Elantris unfortunately falls short of this. The magic system doesn't get explored until the very end of the book, where we see a few brief instances of its use. Now, in any other book, this might be less of an issue, but this is a Sanderson book, and he's kind of the magic system guy in modern fantasy. Now granted, this is his debut novel. He wasn't as experienced and developed at his craft when he wrote Elantris as he was when he wrote Warbreaker. And I suppose I should be a bit lenient considering that fact. But we're comparing books of the same author here, and I feel it would be a bit of a cop-out to go lighter on Elantris simply because it was an earlier book. But I'm not completely heartless, and I'd be remiss not to mention a few of the things that Elantris does well. For example, I really like the mystery behind the city's history. Why did the Elantrians become cursed? Why did the city fall into decay? What caused this calamity? Having these questions answered was extremely fun and satisfying, and is definitely a plus on Elantris' side. And while I feel the magic system was still grossly underutilized, I can appreciate the mystery behind it as well. Discovering this lost art practiced by fallen gods certainly has its appeal, and I found it interesting to see how they rediscovered the magic and fixed the problem with getting it to work. Maybe if they had found the solution a bit sooner to let us see and experience the magic more, I would have been less disappointed in how scarce it was. And despite how shallow I felt the world building was, I can appreciate the more unique and interesting aspects of it. For example, I really liked looking at how a brand new government starts up on the ashes of the kingdom that came before. And on top of that, it's a system that gives governmental powers to the most affluent and successful merchants. The implications and consequences were fascinating to see unfold. Again, as with the magic system, if we had more time to explore different aspects of the world building like we did the government system, perhaps I'd have enjoyed it more. Unfortunately, it's still too scarce to really be enjoyed much. Elantris has an interesting premise though, and it even draws some parallels with Warbreaker. Both are stories where people are imbued with magic that makes gods of men. Of course, in Elantris the gods have fallen before the book even starts. I still find it fascinating, and the concept of a ghostly decaying city that was once a beacon of power and influence always prickles the imagination just right. I'm trying to say that Elantris is a good book with a lot of positive aspects. It just falls short when compared to its younger brother. It has its flaws that hold it back, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be enjoyed by anyone interested in reading it. But you know, for a video comparing two books, I've kind of focused a lot on just one. So now I'll take the time to just geek out and gush over how much I enjoyed Warbreaker. Because it's an awesome book, though not without its own flaws. First and foremost, the character work in Warbreaker is amazingly well done. I've done whole videos on specific characters just to speak about them and analyze their roles within the story. Characters grow and change and you're left enjoying them more and more. Ravenna is awesome, Lightsong is a delight, Ciri is quirky and headstrong, Vasher is deep and mysterious. All the characters feel distinct and enjoyable to read. And when it comes to the magic system, Warbreaker has a far more developed and better explained system than Elantris. You understand how biochromatic breaths work and you understand the limitations of the magic. There's even an economic aspect to the magic in that you can not only buy breaths, but buy awakened soldiers and servants. The very magical are also very rich, which is an interesting way to combine the magic into the larger world. And speaking of world building, I find the world building of Warbreaker to be more intriguing too. How could a country ruled by immortal gods work? What are the greater implications of a country with an enormous army of undead soldiers? The intricacy of the world building is far more interesting and intriguing to read than that of Elantris. And overall, I feel that Warbreaker has more clearly defined story beats that allow it to really shine. The part where Ravenna tries to sow discord in the city with the mercenaries feels distinctly different from when she does it with Vasher. I can more clearly recall the story in order and all the beats that follow on one another. With Elantris, it all kind of melds and melts into a single homogeneous story with a select few instances of uniqueness. Now, don't get me wrong, Warbreaker has its flaws. In fact, I made a whole video on what I both liked and disliked about the book as a whole, and I recommend checking it out. I just feel that, compared to Elantris, Warbreaker is the clear winner here. And please, don't let my opinions prevent you from enjoying a book that could be one of your favorites. Everyone has different tastes, and what I enjoy you might find bland and boring. That's perfectly okay. Don't let anyone make you feel bad for enjoying something you genuinely like. I just happen to like Warbreaker more because I feel it's a book that's better written on a technical level with more compelling characters. But that doesn't mean I hate Elantris. I just don't like it as much, and I feel that Warbreaker takes the cake between the two of them. But what do you think? Do you like Elantris more? Or do you agree with me about Warbreaker being more fun? Let me know in the comments. I sincerely hope this video sparks discussion, and who knows, maybe some of you can prove to me why Elantris deserves a second go. Anyway, I feel this video has gone on long enough and I've rambled on for longer than is appropriate. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Raven, and I'll see you next time.